Hi, I'll be doing my presentation over substance use and misuse in rural areas. So to give you a little background, I'm from Carthage, Illinois, which is a very rural area, and I've been able to see firsthand how substance use and misuse affects our community, and also how the lack of resources really plays a role in it. So a little brief overview of what I'll be discussing. I'll be talking about some factors contributing to substance use in rural America, the effects of substance use in rural communities, and some solutions on how rural communities can combat this issue. So first, some factors. According to the Rural Health Information Hub, some factors include low educational attainment, poverty, unemployment, lack of access to mental health care, and isolation. So kind of to put into perspective, St. Louis County per capita income is 78,804, and Adair County per capita income is 34,867. And this is according to the Missouri Economic Research and Information Center. So you can see I put a little map there, which kind of shows the distribution of per capita income throughout Missouri. And yeah, it kind of just puts into perspective how income plays a role and how resources are very different in an urban area versus a rural area. So, and here's also a table that kind of talks about the distribution in rural area versus urban areas. And these are the results from the 2020 National Survey on Drug Use and Health. And so it just kind of shows different percentages and the different substances. So some effects of substance use and misuse on rural communities. So when using, obviously your brain is affected, and what someone normally would do is not the same when using drugs. So there's an increase in illegal activities, and there are physical and health consequences. With physical and health consequences, employment is at risk, education, and ultimately there's an increase of death or overdose. Kind of a typifying example that I recently just learned about when going back on break is there was a student in my high school that overdosed on fentanyl just recently using a vape. And that just kind of showed like how real it is and how it really is a problem in my community. And it's not just the bigger schools that we see that in. So some warrants, why should we care? Obviously, our loved ones are affected, people we know are affected every day, and it's not just their problem, it's a disease, and crime and incarceration is not a solution. We wouldn't be locking up people with cancer or anything like that. So I really do not believe that, incarceration is a solution to help individuals that are struggling. But some solutions that I do think are great, and I actually had the opportunity to talk to a judge while I was back home, are implementing more preventative measures in schools, starting it early, and having those resources available is super important. So additional social workers and mental health counselors is very important to have in the schools every day, helping the students. More inpatient facilities in rural America is important. I know like where I'm from, you have to go to bigger cities, and that resource isn't always as easy, especially for to get transportation and other things like that. And also these inpatient facilities need to be more than a 30-day time period. Studies have shown that 30 days is not sufficient, and the success rates are very low. So they need to be at least 6 months, 6 to 12 months at most. So something else that is very important is to have safe passage provisions. So this is when an individual is allowed to seek help from the police and not have consequences, like legal consequences from this. The police are then able to take them to an inpatient facility and get them the help they need. Lastly, something that was very concerning to me is so drug court is something that this judge who I talked to really loves to do and thinks it's a great program. But right now, they do not have enough probation officers. And so there's actually a waiting list for these individuals. So it's really frustrating because these people want to get help. These people don't want to go to prison, but they have to wait. And so that's super frustrating, not only for me, but also for these participants that are waiting to get into the program. So these are my proposed solutions and just a little snippet of what I'm going to be talking about in my paper. So yeah.